Covering the community, events, and people of Georgia, Carolina. This is the Means Report. Here is Brad Means.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Means Report. We appreciate you being here and we're grateful that you're spending part of your Sunday with us, and happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. We appreciate you all most of all. Boy, what a busy week it was, huh? Starting on Monday and not stopping really through today as we had the shootings on the campus of Payne College and in the nearby neighborhood, the investigation that ensued, an arrest, an update on the victim. Every night it seemed we were reporting something new coming out of Payne College, and we want to look back on the past few days and talk to a senior administrator at Payne College about the incident and about this busy weekend on campus at the 132-year-old university, a fixture in Augusta, Georgia, one of our gems, and they're graduating their students just about as we speak. And so we're going to get an update from Brandon Brown of Payne College about that. And then right after Mr. Brown's visit, we're going to welcome for the first time since he took office as the top law enforcer in Richmond County Sheriff Richard Roundtree, our special guest, to talk about his agency's role in the Paine investigation and to give us all sorts of updates on what the Sheriff's Office is doing to keep us safe and secure in general. But first, a timeline that breaks down just what happened. I mentioned on Sunday, a week ago today, is when we saw our first shooting report on the campus of Payne College, just after 4:45 last Sunday, all right? And then Monday morning, the wee hours, just after midnight, a shooting at a house on nearby Laurel Street. Same place, Laurel Street, just before lunchtime Monday, another shooting, and then the one that got everybody's attention about 1 o'clock Monday afternoon, the shooting on the campus of Payne College that left one man injured and eventually led to the arrest of a suspect. News Channel 6's Dion Guillory also covered those early events, and his story that ran earlier in the week will give you a better idea of those early moments.
Chaos on campus Monday afternoon, a shooting at Payne College. The campus immediately put on lockdown. Students taken from various buildings, all of them put up in the Hill complex as investigators searched the campus for the suspected shooter. Angelita Meadows, worried about her brother who was still on campus, spoke exclusively with me during our live coverage.
Well, I called him, I asked him was he all right. He told me that he was a little scared.
Her brother Alan, locked in a room with several other students as investigators continue to comb the campus for clues. Deputies say the shooting happened on the 3rd floor of Haygood Hall, the same building where Meadows' brother was.
They said the shooter was either on the same floor or on the floor beneath them. But other than that, you know, he was all right, but I done lost communication with him now. I done talked to him till his phone went dead.
We're told the victim was shot in the head, then taken to Georgia Regents University Trauma Center. About 2 hours later, a break in the case.
The Richmond County Sheriff's Office did, in fact, take one person into custody. He's going to be a person of interest.
That man, 21 years old and now a suspect, found in one of the dorms, all playing out while Angelita Meadows waits to hear from her brother.
Just really worried. Just praying that he's all right, you know, just want him to come out.
About an hour later, the reunion she prayed for. The lockdown slowly lifted and her brother safe and sound.
We were scared, even the teacher was scared because she was an older woman. And at that time, they said the shooter was still loose.
Hugs all around after a day like no other.
I hope my mom cooked. But I just appreciate their support and their love and their care.
And thankful for sure that the student population at Payne College is okay in the aftermath of those shootings. Brandon Brown is no stranger to the Means Report. He's been with us before to talk about Payne College, all under happier circumstances. Brandon Brown is the Senior Vice President for Institutional Advancement at Paine, and thank you so much for coming back.
All right, thank you for having me, and thanks to WJBF News 6 and for all that you do for the community to inform everyone of what's going on.
Well, it's our pleasure, and let me just start with the victim, Juwan Baker. We record this broadcast on Thursday, so as of today, Thursday, do you have any updates on how he's doing? I hope he's recovering well.
Still under the watchful eye of the physicians, and they continue to monitor his condition. They do feel that he's going to make a full recovery.
Let me ask you a question about the campus-wide security concerns in the wake of the shooting. When you first learned of this, and when your police department at Paine and the Sheriff's Office in Richmond County learned of this, what was the response as far as protecting the whole campus? Even though it just happened in one dorm, I'm guessing the place was probably blanketed.
Absolutely. When it first started on that Sunday evening, we are again in a situation where we have emergency systems in place. Our E2 campus alert immediately went off, notifying students of what was happening.
Is that via text?
That's via text, phone calls, emails to students, and we have loud horns on campus that sound out to notify students that something's happening. So the response time was unbelievable by our police department. They were right there as soon as Richmond County responded and deemed Sunday evening a safe environment where was there. That was no active shooter. We immediately took in progress to bring additional Payne College officers on campus. So we beefed up our own internal police department that evening to have additional bodies on campus.
A lot of people were wondering why the Richmond County Sheriff's Office didn't stick around. The Sheriff's Office indicated it's because Payne didn't ask him to. Because of those reinforcements, Brandon, did you think that y'all were going to be okay without the county's help?
There was constant communication between the Sheriff's Office and Payne College. And the one thing that a lot of folks, I don't know if they're properly informed, there is a constant patrol with Richmond County around Payne College. Georgia Regents University also has officers in close proximity to the campus. So we felt at that time, being the campus was released from the Sheriff Department, being that we brought in additional officers that evening, we felt the campus environment was safe at that time.
The information that's been trickling in all week has been, including information from the suspected shooter's father out of DeKalb County, Georgia, is that there's been this sort of I don't know the right word to use, tension, I guess, between local guys and Payne College guys, and eventually that led to this shooting. Your comments on any sort of tension going on, fighting between the locals, if you will, and the Payne students, are you noticing, or have you picked up on any of that over the years?
Well, one of the things that we always encourage our students to do is to be very practical in their engagement in the community, especially different areas that they go in. We oftentimes tell our students your purpose of being here at school is to get your education, to spend time in the library, to participate in student organizations. Students that sometimes go out and matriculate in certain areas of the community, we really don't advise students to do that. So it's very unfortunate with this engagement that in turn brought this escalation on campus. We do have full service student services with organizations. It's just unfortunate these students didn't engage in the type of behavior we traditionally look at Payne College students to do so.
Where do we stand now as far as the two students are concerned? Obviously, we hope that the victim makes a full recovery and that everything is okay in his life, but has the suspect, any action been taken from an academic standpoint or a student standing standpoint about him?
Well, the suspect violated many policies in the college. He number one, discharged a firearm on campus. He was saw by eyewitnesses, so he is no longer a student at Payne College.
What happened with the prayer vigil? We were going to go cover it. I think the shooting was on Monday. I think Tuesday at noon there was going to be a prayer vigil in the Gilbert Lambeth Chapel. Got canceled. Why?
Well, that's a very good question. We met with the Sheriff's Office early that morning. The Sheriff articulated to us his concerns via that there was an additional shooter possible still out there, and that we had some students that they felt their life was in danger. So we immediately took precautions to make sure that all the students were protected, and we thought that it would be more appropriate not to have any event that would open up or expose students to a potential shooter.
All right, you mentioned the suspect. He's been kicked out of school. Any action taken regarding other students? Anybody else been removed from campus?
Well, we had about 7 students that were some real concern about. And in that, anytime you're in an environment and we are entrusted with the lives of young students, we would have to do everything possible to protect everyone. So we saw it best to send those students home. Those students are now back to their hometowns, and we will be sending them additional information here in the near future.
And so do we think this was a drug deal? You think that it was a shooting over a drug deal gone bad? Is that information still standing?
Based on what the Sheriff's Office is telling us, it looks as if that was a drug deal gone bad, which escalated.
And do you think those kids who you sent home think they'll get to come back, or they're probably gone too?
Well, we're gonna go through our internal process, but at this time, I don't believe they'll be returning to the college.
All right, now Brandon Brown, Senior Vice President of Institutional Advancement at Payne College. You said earlier in the week on the news that people wondered how could this kid get into college, this suspect, Xavier Cooper. And you said that on his application process, he checked no when it said, do you have a criminal record? Do you have a felony record or what have you? Is that enough of a security measure? Surely in this day and age, there's some sort of computer system we can run these kids' social security numbers through when they apply to Payne and find out if they have a record or not.
Well, you're absolutely right. We typically follow the standard practices within colleges and universities as we're required to. Typically when we have applications and we look and examine the application, if it's checked no, then if there is nothing in social media, we don't dig any deeper. However, with this incident, we are going to be reviewing our processes, and we're going to further strengthen our ability when we disseminate who should be a Payne College student, and if they have met all the criteria we expect for them to come to the institution.
You talking about background checks on every kid who fills out an application, or what sort of measures are we talking about to make it tougher than check yes or no, and we checked Facebook?
Yeah, there are different databases that we're going to be utilizing. We're going to really scrutinize transcripts. We're going to look at letters of recommendation. And as we see fit, there is a system that I think that we're going to model after another institution of similar size that does a good job in screening. We feel like we do a good job in screening. It's that 1% of students that cause events like this that put us in this unfortunate situation, but we think that we're going to continue our efforts and we're going to look at what we can do better to ensure better students and students not like this at Payne College.
I got to ask you two quick questions before I let you go, and I knew our time would fly by. That upsets me. I wish we had longer. The first one is just to ask on behalf of my brothers and sisters in the media. There was some belief that throughout the week that we were sort of turned away or not welcome at Payne College, or that the students were told not to speak to us. Your response to that?
We always have our students, we want our students to engage with media. Part of Payne's DNA is social justice, being engaged. We welcome that. However, we also have a responsibility to making sure that the media is also safe. And when you have pending threats, you want to make sure the environments are conducive for everyone. So that type of engagement we saw was best to make sure students try to remain inside as they maneuver through the campus. But we have had made numerous opportunities for media to speak with students on campus.
Final question, graduation this weekend, how's it going? I know y'all did your best to pull it off without a hitch. Are you excited? And again, this is Thursday when we record. Are you anticipating a smooth, pretty normal graduation?
We think so. We're very excited that there's going to be a lot of mothers with smiles on their face during this special day. A lot of our students have started returning those beautiful smiles, and they're excited about their futures. We're excited for them, and we think that the rest of this weekend is going to play out very well for Payne College and the Augusta community.
Well, I hope so, and I appreciate your time. I know it's been a crazy week, and you know, Brandon Brown's right. The last thing I want to do during this segment is impugn the integrity of Payne College. It is an institution in this town, and something bad did happen at it this past week, but I appreciate you updating us on how you're working through it.
Thank you, Brad. Thank the WJBF family, and we would just ask that you continue to pray for the Payne community as we all work together hand in hand in unison.
Absolutely. Brandon Brown, Senior Vice President, Institutional Advancement at Payne College. When we come back, the Sheriff of Richmond County, Georgia talks about his role in the investigation and what we can expect from his agency going forward. Sheriff Richard Roundtree, when the Means Report continues. Welcome back to the Means Report. We are so happy to have Sheriff Richard Roundtree, the Sheriff of Richmond County, Georgia, with us today on the Means Report. He needs no introduction, but I do want to let you know that he is here and want to get right to our questions. Sheriff Roundtree, thank you so much for being with us.
It's always a pleasure, Brad. Thanks.
Well, we're grateful to you, and I wanted to, on this very busy week, just get an update on the Payne College situation right off the bat. In our first segment, we let the viewers know that you all had, of course, made one arrest. And again, this is recorded on Thursday, but as of Thursday, you'd arrested Xavier Cooper in connection with the shooting of the Payne College student, Jawan Baker, and that you were looking for a Christopher Jackson, a person of interest. Any updates you can give us?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, coming here, Christopher Jackson actually came down to Law Enforcement Center, and he's being interviewed as we speak now. And based on those interviews, we'll see what direction we go.
So, person of interest is always you know, it's a very generic way to refer to somebody. You're not saying suspect, you're not saying he pulled the trigger. What do you think his role might have been in this whole thing?
Well, like I said in the news conference earlier, we knew that Jackson, he was the victim of the Laurel Street shooting, and we know that he, in fact, was on campus at the time of the first shooting. So we're trying to get that connection, trying to see exactly what is the connection, what is the significance, if it's a coincidence, if it's not a coincidence, and especially you want to know why somebody shot up his house.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this about the safety of the campus of Payne College. They have their own police department. They called in reinforcements as of Sunday, and they said they, in conjunction with Richmond County's patrols in the neighborhood, are safe. What are your thoughts, Sheriff? Do you think that area is safe, is secure? What should residents know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've said before, this incident happened, two individuals were having an altercation.
Yes, sir.
And the common factor is that they both attended Payne College. Again, they ran to each other on an elevator, met up, had exchanged some words, and thus leading to the shooting. So this could have happened anywhere. I said it could have been, you know, at a drugstore, on the corner, a gas station. Just to happen that they passed across at that time was on the College of Payne campus.
Yeah, I love what you said. You know, you compared it to a grocery store or some other workplace, and somebody in the newsroom even said, look, if this had happened a block down the street, we would have treated it as an aggravated assault and spent 10 seconds on it. I guess the concern was, though, that one of our beloved institutions, Payne College, been a part of this community for more than a century, that its students were in danger. And from what I'm hearing, in the aftermath of the shooting, they were safe, the proper procedures were followed. Absolutely,
and that's why we train on active shooter drills every year. Every agency, you know, again, going way back for Columbine, it goes to the forefront of everyone's attention when you have Institute of Higher Learning where students are involved, because they're supposed to be there for an education. They shouldn't be concerned about their safety. So when you have an incident of that type, it causes for alarm, because a lot of the parents of the students, you know, like something happened here in Augusta, we can immediately go to school and get our kids.
Right.
If you got parents who 1,000 miles away, they can't go and get their kids. So they trust their kids' safety to us. So, you know, in this particular situation, we train every year for it because, you know, sometimes bad things happen. And I can't be more proud of the response of my team, as well as Paine and fires, EMS, Georgia State Patrol came in. I mean, we had everyone responded to that scene without even being called. They knew that, hey, if you need us, we're here. And that's, as a community, as a group, when all agencies come together like that, that's your defining moment. And I think based on the circumstances, and luckily it was not a fatality, that everyone responded the way they were trained. And I think by the response, it probably prevented any further violence, because you did have a shooter that was captured on the College of Payne campus.
I don't know if I read this in the Chronicle or if it came across the Channel 6 newsroom, but there was a report that when you were out of town, I think the weekend of the shooting, just coming back in town, basically when it happened, I think, anyway, that another member of the sheriff's office was put in charge. Can you explain kind of the procedures that you have in place for when you're not in town?
Right. As of last Wednesday, I was going out of town. What we do is a change of command order. And from Wednesday of the week prior to that Tuesday, Chief Deputy Patrick Clayton assumed my responsibilities in my role. So we type out, what we do is type up a formal letter, and we send it out to all road patrol personnel, let them know that there is a change of command. He is the acting sheriff in my stead.
Let me stick with, we're talking about college kids. Let me stick with young people, because I remember when you were running for sheriff, and even in the months after you took office, you put a lot of priority on young people and the role that kids can play in fighting crime. Your thoughts on how our young people can step up and help keep us all safer?
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, it's a new generation. It's a technology generation now, and kids with the social media, you know, we're dinosaurs when it comes to that. You know, it amazes me when I was in the airport and just looking, and I see these 2-year-old kids, and before we were just amazed they were walking and starting to speak, and they had tablets and they were doing things on them and scrolling on them, and I was just amazed, you know, how far we come in advance. So, you know, growing up in this age, if you get young people involved, actively involved early, and let them know this is our community. We're trying to build a better community. And we as adults, we wanted our community to be safe for our children. But when that generation comes up, let them know, hey, these are some things that you need to do to make your community safe, and you have more influence than we do on that generation. So, you know, if you lead by example, you get a generation of leaders and say, we're not going to tolerate foolishness, we're not going to tolerate the violence, and stand up and be willing to stand up for that, and you will see that people will get behind you. They'll rally behind you on that, and it reinforces, you know, the generational gap between what we're trying to do in the next generation and, you know, for your grandkids to come.
Sheriff, let me ask you about a bold move that you made, and to be honest with you, it impressed a lot of people. That was when the budget cuts were first suggested by the commission. 2.4% across the board budget cuts. Sheriff Roundtree, you stepped up and said, no, we cannot cut that for my office, for my agency, and the commission backed off. Tell us a little bit about your thinking and your approach to that, and why you said, look, my men and women cannot handle this cut.
Well, and I didn't want it to be a confrontational situation, and I had been speaking to commissioners behind the scenes and let them know this is crucial to the plans we already have in place. Like when I came in office, remember, I had an existing budget. It was put by the previous administration. I had to work within that budget to try to create the programs that I wanted to start, and we were extending. We exceeded our goals with the programs we started with the budget we inherited. Now, of course, we put in place an additional funding for additional things, but we always worked on the confines of the budget that I had. So going to our second year, we had already been planning 2 and 3 years out based on the current budget. And for them to cut it, it would have cut our programs back. It would hinder us, like the downtown project that we, you know, our smart units that we were able to roll out. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to roll those out. You know, we moving forward with our technology department and a lot of things that we already had in place. And what they have to understand about our sheriff office now, we're thinking 3 and 4 years down the road. Right. This year we have state accreditation by the end of the summer. And before the end of my first term, we're going to be nationally accredited. But these plans are already in place. And that's what I was trying to get them to understand is, you know, legally, a commission can reduce my budget, but you have to reduce it in specific areas and say why, and it can't jeopardize public safety. You can't arbitrarily tell me to cut 2.4%. And that's why I was trying to get them to understand. I told them I'm willing to work with you. That's why the next budget cycle, you know, we want to start early, and we will be at the discussion. I'll be at the table talking to them, but I'm telling you, these are the things that we're doing. And, you know, I told them the first year, you know, we gave back like $1 million. So I told them, it's not I'm going to try to spend every dime I have. You know, we don't have that kind of administration. Just because it's in our budget, we're not going to go out and try to buy new furniture at the end of the year just to keep the money. These monies in place to programs, and you've seen the results. And I told them our first year, you know, we cut homicide rate down by 43%. Our violent crime rate dropped 13%. Property crime rate dropped 16%. First year and now we're going to go into a zone concept starting the 27th of this month that we think is going to be a huge difference. During the high crime areas, we're going to increase our officers on patrol by 41%. Wow. During the high peak crime areas based on data and computer-generated data and crime analysis. And that's why I was trying to tell them that these things are already in place. This ain't something we came up with last week. These were in place last year, and I was telling them that I couldn't do it. I cannot cut it.
And I know that you supported SPLOST, and if SPLOST passes, law enforcement, public safety will get a big chunk of that. Let me ask you, I need to have time for 2 more questions. One's about downtown safety. Your thoughts on that? I know that's been a big focal point for you, is keeping downtown safe. Oh,
absolutely, and that's one of the things with the SPLOST. When I first presented the package a year and a half ago, when I was trying to get the money for the cameras and the people, and I told them patrols is one thing, but you also need to augment it with surveillance and equipment. So I was able to fund the additional deputies downtown with the unit. But the SPLOST packet allows me now to put in the camera system that we wanted that's monitored full time. So now you have 2 components. So, you know, within a year, that means you increase the downtown safety plan almost 100% because you've added patrols and you added 24-hour video surveillance, and that's huge for the growth of downtown.
I saw you give a couple of speeches to civic organizations, and I don't want to quote you because I'll probably mess up the quote, but the gist of it was that a lot of the responsibility for keeping our communities safe falls on us, the citizens. So I wanted to get you to comment on that, because a lot of us think, or we used to think, Sheriff, that as long as we saw that silver and black car roll past our house, we were safe. But you are a big believer in everybody taking a role.
Absolutely. That's the only way it's going to work. You know, during my campaign, I said, you know, community law enforcement together, one team, one dream. That was my campaign. It wasn't my slogan. That was my motto. That was our mission. That was our plan, to get the citizens actively involved. Because, again, you know, we have the largest full-service sheriff office in the state of Georgia, and we can suppress crime temporarily.
Right.
but we're trying to establish an element of living where it suppresses crime to the fact that you see a difference, a better quality of life in your neighborhood, but you have to be actively engaged. And we tell people, if you're actively engaged, we're going to be right there with you every step of the way, and sometimes leading the way, but we need your support. And people are buying into it, and officers are buying into it, and we are seeing results. And that's why I want to show in my first year that it works. You know, and that's what excites us about it. And the more people get involved in it, they start to see this whole city get safe. And I like to say this, Brad, you know, I hate the divisive nature of this city.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, this sheriff office, and I told my men and women, I said, we have an opportunity to unite this city through this office. That's what we are. We are a service agency, and we want to show people we're here for service. But we need you to join us in that.
Well, I appreciate all that you have been doing, and I tell you what, you know, news reporters and journalists are supposed to be objective, and we are, and we try to play it right down the middle, but I'm telling you, you're doing a superb job.
Well, I appreciate that, and the men and women hear that. I get emails every day. I get phone calls about what this deputy did this, and you know, they stopped and went and got me gas, and I mean, these things that they weren't seeing before, and that's what makes a difference, and that's what makes this job every day when I go to work and I get those emails and get those calls, and I pass them on to the men. That's what it's about. You know, of course, they need more money, but this is what they do the job for the people say, we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, Sheriff, and thank you for taking the time. We're grateful that you were our guest.
Well, I'm absolutely glad we can assure the people that this city is going to be safer and if we work together.
Richmond County Sheriff Richard Roundtree. Stay with us. The Means Report continues in just a moment. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Means Report, everybody. We are grateful that you took part of your day to watch us today. A special thanks to Brandon Brown of Payne College and Richmond County Sheriff Richard Roundtree. Great guests today. I hope you learned a lot. I know I sure did. And I want you to help us with our future editions of the Means Report. You can share your thoughts with us via Facebook and Twitter. You can also email us and let us know what you'd like to see on this show. mwilson@wjbf.com or bmeans@wjbf.com. Let us know what you thought of today's broadcast. And watch old episodes of the Means Report on wjbf.com or on our mobile app. And certainly to my mom, Dottie, and to Marlena's mom, Marlene, and to all the mothers out there, and for Levi and Marlena and our whole Means Report family. Happy Mother's Day and take care.